Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start with apologizing for my last two reviews. I don't think they were up to par, and it got me thinking about a lot of things. As we are growing and the viewership becomes larger on stream, you can still clearly, I got agitated, and I shouldn't get agitated at all, right? I think it was on a day that I got too little sleep, something like this. My girlfriend was out of town, and so for some reason, when the girlfriend leaves, for a little bit, I stop taking care of myself, and I stay up too long and drink Fanta and all, get my party on, watch Netflix. Well, nevertheless, I'm going to choose more carefully what I interact with the chat, focus on the analysis, and focus entirely and engulf myself in the game that we're seeing before us. So, with that being said, I think we continue. We continue. I had to cancel my review. I already started. You can see on the lines here. Give me 1 second. The cat is clawing on the door. Hey, welcome. Welcome. You want to say hello? Want to say hello? Want to say hello? Hey, chonker, 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 chonker. Hey, hey, hey. Okay. Okay. Well, my girlfriend's back, so I'm taking care of my life matter. So, in regards to this draft, cats. I cannot stop the cats from distracting me. It's just these I cannot do anything about the cats. Let's start. So, set first pick, a bit questionable. Usually says banned on blue to force Ornn ban, but this time around it was a set first pick. Cloud9 going for the standard 3 OPs. I think these are the 3 most strongest champs on Tempo in 3. Ornn is probably number 1, Soraka number 2. I wanted to put Soraka number 1, but I think Ornn is just better. I think Ornn has too little weaknesses, honestly. I think Soraka, you can play around it. Nevertheless, first pick Rakan, first pick set. I wrote here that usually I think I would expect the first pick Rakan here. Zyrakan is pretty high prio. But I think I'm in love with Zyrakan more than most other teams. Senna and Tahm kENCH was a big focus point here. Senna with the support item, Tahm kENCH farming the CS. Even, Senna can also farm some CS, right? It's not like she's not going to farm any CS at all. It is a very, very curious idea. I thought Senna, the nerf wasn't big enough, honestly. I didn't think that the Senna nerf was big enough to completely remove it out of the equation. I still think majority of the things that were OP about Senna is the fact that her item efficiency is beautiful. Malamune is such a strong item. Duskblade is such an amazing item. I'm just going to close the door, pardon me. She can buy lethality, eventually, rapid fire cannon. Eventually rapid fire cannon is also amazing. Infinity Edge. There were a lot of things besides the freaking souls that made Senna very strong. So I like the Senna Tahm rotation. Obviously Senna has some movement issues. In a lot of cases I prefer to have Thresh with Senna. But just because Tahm kENCH is farming, it makes everything better too. Isn't it a loss if you have to ban all 3 OPs instead of letting your opponent also ban 1 or 2? Well, the thing is, I think that it's different in this case, Quicket, because there's a clear hierarchy of what is better than the other. So, for example, Ornn is super OP. I think Ornn is even more OP on red side because Ornn is good into a lot of the blind picks that you want to pick on mid lane. For example, you can play Ornn into Zoe and be very happy. Ornn into LeBlanc and be very happy. Ornn into Syndra and be super happy. And these are the most common blind picks that we see, right? And that's what makes Ornn so dangerous, because the mid lane meta right now is just so beautiful for him. And then you would much rather have Soraka over Aphelios, because into Aphelios you can still go Zyrakan, you can still go Misfortune. So it's not like Aphelios is super, super OP, but he's the clear first pick if everything else is banned, because he's a strong blind pick, very versatile, and the hierarchy, the difference here in making the enemy ban or whatever, it's very clear. It's very clear which pick is better than the other. So that's the thing. Someone asked, why is Zoe such a good blind pick? Well, Zoe has a strong lane, right? She can contest most matchups from 1 to 5, and then after 6 it depends on what champion she plays against. And just because she can contest 1 to 5, and then with good RNG can win most matchups. For example, if she gets Redemption or whatever, then most matchups she's going to win. So she's very RNG friendly. She is good to play with your jungler, good to play without jungler, wave clear. Weaknesses that, Zoe's biggest weakness is not necessarily in lane. She struggles more against champions that are outside of the lane. For example, let's say there's a Nocturne jungle, or maybe there's too many tanks on enemy team that are blocking her Qs, right? So that is the most difficult part for Zoe. There are comps that counter Zoe, and also she's at the mercy of her own team. For example, if your team is full AP, Zoe's going to struggle as well because she needs to rush Void, and it's kind of awkward to play, right? So Zoe just doesn't have that many terrible matchups, but I still think there's room for people to force those matchups. I think people can play Echo into Zoe. I think people can play Fizz into Zoe. Honestly, I'll tell you guys right here that I think Fizz is like hidden OP. I think Fizz is really, really strong. And I think there is one team at some point that's going to figure that out and punish all of these LCK Zoe first picks and go for a Fizz. But even that matchup, if Zoe has space to harass and get ahead, then maybe she can survive. But then after 6, this matchup becomes unbelievably hard because you can never use your R. If you use R against Fizz, you just die. And even walking up on the lane without the R, your range is pretty low. Even against Syndra, even against LeBlanc, it's playable. So people are calling for, why doesn't people ban Tahm kENCH or first pick Senna? Well, the thing is, no one can know that Senna Tahm kENCH is coming here. With the failures out of the picture, the use of Tahm kENCH becomes lower and lower, besides maybe Varus. I think Tahm kENCH is good with a lot of the ADs that Sven plays, but I think also you put yourself in a position where enemy is predictable. If we question one ban here from Immortal side, if they have high Zyrakan prio, then Nautilus is okay-ish. Mordekaiser ban is kind of troll because I don't think Licorice has actually played it. Rumble ban is targeted at Niski. I think Rumble is still a strong champion, and I gave up on it too fast, I can admit. After the nerfs on W, I thought Rumble was dead, but SKT has proven me wrong, and a lot of teams in the LCK have proven me wrong. Especially now on 10.4, when Sunfire Cape is buffed, I think Rumble is going to be even higher prio, because the way you beat Sunfire Cape is by not picking AD champion top, because I think the champions that are the most sad about Sunfire Cape changes are, in fact, the bruisers, the AD bruisers. So anything that is AP tank is going to be super happy to be played in top, and Mordekaiser and Rumble should go up in prio on 10.4 because of the Sunfire Cape. Like Aatrox is really sad, Set is really sad. Anything that just is bad against armor is really, really sad. So Zyrakan, I like it a lot. Even though people think that Tahm kENCH is a soft counter Zyrakan, it just isn't. It just isn't. Especially with the move speed and all, you have enough damage to one-shot the Tahm. But with Tahm kENCH farming, it becomes more and more difficult. The Tahm kENCH farming makes him one-shottable, and that makes this whole idea of this bot lane more and more intriguing. Of course, if you fall behind in such a lane, if you get ganked, the way you beat this is that you heavy gank it, right? The biggest weakness is that Tahm kENCH needs to walk on the wave. He needs to walk on the wave as a melee champion and last hit, and that's where the punish comes in. And if you have a jungler, like let's say Jarvan, and you pressure level 2, and you find ganks over and over, then everything would be super cool. So with that being said, let's continue with the rest of the draft. The second wave bans is AP junglers, which is completely fine, right? They are banning the junglers that have synergy with Set, with LeBlanc out. I think also targeted specifically at Xmithy. If you ban the tank junglers, I think you're going to be better off, because I don't think anything that is remotely mechanical is something that is Xmithy's wheelhouse. So Sejuani Gragas bans Synergy with Set, and the Zyra bot lane is completely fine because most of the time, Ica picks kind of whatever and is isolated in the mid lane. So this is cool. I like Cloud9's bans. These are the type of bans that you do when you are clearly better than the enemy team. You remove all the OPs from the equation. You keep it simple. You show off the Senna Tahm kENCH. You prepared it, and you are pretty certain that no one's gonna take it away from you. How common is it to just pick Rakan for Set combo? Not really. Not really. People are not interested in this. The thing is, if you choose not to ban OPs, then still Immortals can third ban an OP, and then you have 1-for-1, and then enemy Immortals will always have the better choice of an OP. And once again, this is the last time I will mention it, just the hierarchy of OPs, it's very clearly what is above the other. And Ornn better than Soraka, Soraka better than Aphelios, so you don't want to trade. You don't want to be in a position that you trade. Ornn red side is just too powerful. Ornn red side is super, super powerful. Nevertheless, we continue. I think we've spoken a great deal about the first three, but I think just because Tahm kENCH farms here, you need to punish with jungle. You need to look for a Jarvan. You need to look to punish as fast as possible, because Zyra Khan's idea of how they usually play into a Tahm lane is that they would actually want to kill Tahm. Right? You kill Tahm. That's how you win Zyra Khan. You have enough damage to kill Tahm kENCH with the W of Xayah, with the BF, you one shot. But now this Tahm kENCH is going to first base by a giant spell or something. So it's pretty tricky. So I don't think anyone really puts you in a position where you, like, people don't really think like that, oh, I'm going to pick Seth for Rakan combo. Nevertheless, Lee Sin third pick. It's okay. It's completely okay. I think the better you are at Lee Sin, the more okay it is for you to pick it. Let's continue this draft. So it teleports, and Elise was locked. Let's just start over. Elise, Orianna, 4-5. I think Zoe was 4th, and Vlad. Actually, I'm pretty sure Vlad was 4th, no? So they went for the Elise, which just signifies right away that they want to look to play with the Set in the top side and look to pressure the Vladimir. Vlad 4, Zoe is 6. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, they showed Set already. Okay, 4, 5, Elise. Okay. So this is 4, this is 5. So right off the bat, with the first pick Set, right now he's playing against a full range composition. So this already here, he's very reliant on flanks. He's not going to be bruising it up too much, right? So that's one thing. Set and Elise, I don't get the Vladimir pick into Set. I get that the champion is a ranged champion, and this is something that Set doesn't like, but I think Set can catch up to a Vladimir, right? I think Set Elise definitely can do something here. I just think it's a question of approach. Immortals are looking to, when they lock in Elise, they look to play with Set. Elise look to pressure the Vladimir. They saw Vladimir on 4th. Maybe it was a part of the decision. I think Elise can also still impact bottom, but it's going to be more difficult, especially if Tahm kENCH runs like a cleanse or something, right? Thank you so much, Teacup88. I really appreciate it. Because here the question is just Senna, Tahm. I know it's easy to say in hindsight. We need to keep in mind that the Immortals is in draft and they don't know what's coming at them. But I think the way you need to play into this Senna Tahm combination is that you need to pressure it, because Tahm kENCH needs to, as a melee champion, is going to walk on the wave, and you can deny him a lot, right? If you play heavily and heavily into it. Zyra Khan, together with the Java, for example, even with the Elise, can find opportunities to go and pressure this. Basically, Tahm kENCH walks on the wave, you punish, you gank him, you go for it, right? Force 3v3s on bot lane, and use the fact that Lee Sin needs to scale up to level 6, right? Orianna lock-in, blind pick, is kind of meh, considering here Syndra is open. I think most of the time you would want to pick Syndra. Oriana is going to suffer against the lack of range here. But of course, Oriana combo with Set and Rakan, whatever. There is a lot of room to explore, right? It's okay. We are not going to get too stuck on it, but most of the time, Syndra, Zoe are the better blind picks. But I think here they're just picking for comp. And then Elise, I'm just, Xmithie Elise, I don't know. It's just here, it's a tricky choice because I think you should isolate, like remove Set Vladimir from the equation, play him to bottom side and look to it. So this is just, Oriana is just question mark. I think Syndra, Zoe are just better blind picks. Niski going for Zoe. They're just going for the range comp, looking to poke this composition here and look to not get engaged on. So the big thing here is, if we think about how mid game should be played out, Tahm kENCH just need to make sure that he is not as long as C9 don't stack together, they're going to have a good time. It's going to be very difficult to force on a team composition like this because of the range. Okay, I think we've spoken a great deal about draft. Do you think a farm jungle like Olaf would have done better here? No, I don't think so. You don't want to pick Olaf into Lee Sin. Lee Sin is a good matchup into Olaf, and looking to jungle here is not great because I think bottom matchup is on a timer. Why the Elise pick? They just want to play 2v2 top, I think. That's the Elise. Win conditions, I think you need to... Whoever is ahead on bot lane this game is going to be in a better position to get mid prio. And then later on, the big question mark is who wins on side between Zoe and Oriana, if any of them even want to go on side. I just think right now the compositions are very similar in terms of how they want to play mid game. A 1-4 type deal, maybe 2-3 for this team, maybe 2-3 for this team too. And I think with that in mind, whoever has the stronger bot side in this game is going to be able to fight for the first rift, first Drake, and I think that's enough to just snowball this game because eventually you get mid prio, you can hover into a side, and that's it, So if Senna Tahm is ahead this game, they get mid prio, they can affect side lanes, right? They can affect side lanes first, and same thing for Xayah Rakan, right? Same thing for Xayah Rakan. So this is just a better bot lane win type of game. That's why I think it's so important that Elise impacts bottom and Lee Sin impacts bot. And then I think with Zoe in the mid lane, Zoe has prio against Oriana early. She has options to affect bot lane. So as long as C9 here funnel everything into bottom and isolate Vladimir, then they're happy. But with the Elise pick, it means that Immortals most of the time want to play into top side, and I think this time around it's not that great. Okay, so better bot lane wins. Standard stats. I don't think anyone has too crazy of a level 1 to go. I think whoever invades is going to lose in such a situation because you're going to end up face checking into Xayah Rakan. It's important to always analyze level 1 strength because the best of the best are going to look to do some crazy shenanigans. C9 Blabber, he went for a very interesting choice here with Resolve. I wonder if it's just a choice to go bone plating into Elise to win already on level 3. But I think if you hit Q, most of the time you do win already, so... Just move the chat over here, make it a little bit smaller, and then put myself here in the corner. Corrupting Potion Zoe against Oriana Dorans means that Niski should be winning pretty heftily early on. Elise has level 3 and no cleanse on Niski, so it's definitely a possibility. Warding ramp and covering top tribush to make sure that there is no late invade shenanigan to kind of break the game open. It would be the worst thing here for Lee Sin. I like the fact that Lee Sin is starting with no leash. I think it's definitely the way here. Zyrakan are forced to leash. Like, this is already difficult. We're talking about how important the bot lane matchup is, and Zyrakan are leashing. They are leashing. Senna and Tahm get prior level 1. That means they are going to win wave 2, 3, 4 as well, depending on the lead's decision. Right? But Xmithy already here, he's going for quick path into topside, but quick path into topside leaves you with options. So we just have to follow here Xmithy what he does. And Lee Sin is already going for full clear, so we're starting with E. Standard stuff, going past the creeps, and now Licorice is looking to Q, but he choked a little bit, stopped. I would ward for that, man. I would ward for that Q. Look for that fat Q. So the reason you win after you push level 1 is because you get level 2 first, you have a bigger wave, you have control over the wave, and then boom, here's the poking. Very nice. It's sped up, that's why it looked really, really clean from Zen. But, it was clean, but it looked even cleaner because of the speed. And then here, C9 are just continuously hitting the wave and pushing more and more. It's so alleviating when a Senna is allowed to harass freely and look to stack, and you don't have to care about CS. I really, really like it. I like it. Stream is a bit laggy, then it's completely on your side, my friend. I'm not lagging right now. Okay, so we saw Elise path into bottom side after taking 3 camps top side, but now he's fighting for top grab. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, dangerous stuff. Niski using W heal. Niski also healing very prematurely. I don't know if he thought that I don't know if he thought that he would get one-shotted or enemy Zoe had ignite or something. Elise got spotted on top ward, so as you can see, Tahm, kENCH and Senna don't care about anything, right? They don't care about anything. They're pushing very, very aggressively. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing any signs of lag from my end, so I'm sorry, I cannot change it. Everything is fine on my end. So it is base now. I wouldn't be surprised now if C9's bot lane stop pushing now and alleviate it, let it go a little bit, and time with Blabber here. But they've done enough damage to all take an Akko to not be afraid of any all-ins from now on. Bottom is in a really, really good state because Elise showed on top ward. There was no dive or possible top. Like, if you can't dive top and you're showing on top ward, it is horrible. It's honestly horrible, especially when you're playing Elise. You cannot have any inefficiencies with your time. So as we saw, Elise was spotted here. She only got golems. State is that Lee Sin is like, he's in a fantastic state. He impacted mid lane. Niski is 1 portion ahead with biscuits. He's in a fine state and also W heal, right? I thought he already used W heal. I don't know if this is a visual bug or if he got it from a minion as well. I'm not sure. Nevertheless, this is a very, very good game state for C9 here. I think C9 should not die here. This is quite bad that they fall for this gank, because the wave is already slow pushing and the timing window was closing, right? You said in the YouTube video that Kled is good versus Zac, but Bloomigan told me that Zac wins this matchup. Well, Bloomigan is wrong. You can just rewatch the game and, you know... Yeah, but the Lindros one, he already used heal once. You know, I saw him actually use heal once. So this is the second heal, that's why I say it. As if you can rewatch the game, he took Ica heal. I know that he took Ica heal, but he used Ica heal already, and he looted another heal. Or if it's a visual bug. Zac is 10 times better after the lane. It really depends on the composition. Like in this particular game between Fnatic and it was Ica that used heal. We can go back. Maybe I was blind. I know that Ica used heal, but I think also Niski healed right off the bat. Oh, actually, maybe he just ghosted. Because look, he used heal. Look, guys. Look, he used heal. I knew I was not crazy. And then he picked it up from a minion as well. He used heal here. And then he picked up. And then he picked up another heal. Look. Here he ghosted. And then he picked up the heal. Right here. From the minion. Look at the heal. Boom. He healed twice. And then he heals. And then he picks up Ica heal. So he healed twice. Yeah, I'm not crazy. What were we talking about? We were talking about Kled and Zac. Well, the thing is, we're talking about Kled and Zac in the matchup, right? Kled and Zac in the matchup. I don't care about what happens later. If we talk about Kled and Zac matchup and Bloomigan says that Zac... if Bloomigan says that Zac is good into this, and he didn't watch the same game as I. Because there were probably 4 or 5 times where Kled could have a significant advantage. A very significant advantage. Later on in the game, Zac was a force, but that has to do with the rest of the composition more than anything, right? That has nothing to do with Kled. Kled wasn't the problem in this game. The problem was that Syndra and of course but Zac played the lane bad as well. But I think also Finn made a lot of mistakes, and I think also having Lee Sin jungle hurt them because they didn't have a jungler. I'm not sure, but he said that Zac wins because of his W percentage. Like, guys, don't try to convince anyone that Zac is good lane into Kled. Self-made saved top lane, and Inspire was nowhere to be found. Xayah Syndra just struggled really hard to play against Rakan, Ornn, Zac. It was just too much. It was just too much. And Ezreal was unkillable in this comp. Heal is very strong for 2v2 on bottom. So here, this was the time we spoke about. I think here C9 should stop pushing bottom and look to bounce back, right? Look to make the wave bounce back. You saw also here Sven's biscuit usage when he's as low mana as possible. It's trying to be a possible good pick into set. Honestly, I like the singed that people did. I like the singed. I like the... I've seen Kled into set as well work. I've seen plenty of things. Another heal. Why not? Niski is promoting good health with another heal. Well, the thing is, Nimbus Cloak is really good on Zoe because when you W is also it's also great. This is the 3rd heal Niski has, so this shouldn't happen. Guardian is procced, Sven heals early, and they walk away. Where is Elise Cocoon here? So Elise Cocoon needs to be on the Tahm Coco, of course. You need to Tahm Coco, hit the Tahm Coco. But I think even Immortals are just in too bad state to fight here. Doran Shield, they are too weak. They are too weak. Now Zoe's hovering. Zoe's bubbling. And now it's the state of bot lane is very difficult. What did Elise get out of pathing into top? Very little. Like, so has TP'd back to lane, so spreading that pressure is not going to happen. Vladimir was not in dive position because Lee Sin was in fog, so it was very, very difficult. With this being said, look how many minions are being lost here into the turret for Xayah Rakan, and they also lose the Drake. And this is the type of game state that is already super difficult. Base Giant's Belt of Tahm Coco, and the CS disadvantage here because jungler didn't path into bot. C9 could play however they wanted. They had full information on Elise. They could harass Xayah Rakan enough for Elise, even on her timer. They even didn't care. They just played super aggro. Usually in this timer, you let the wave bounce back and you wait for Lee Sin to show up. But even with the gank, Xayah and Rakan were just too low. Too low. Now Giant's Belt, Tahm Kench, his damage is improved by percentage. Giant's Belt just makes him unkillable, man. It's really wild. Now the question is, oh, this is pretty decent. Maybe you need to use oh, wow. Nimbus Cloak is so OP. Very nice here from Niski. I think most players here would use Flash. Altic, trolling a little bit. This is not the way. Oh, Altic doing his best Caps impersonation, but also at the same time Hako's gank in the mid lane to only burn heal. This is a position where they needed to, of course. Look at the heal movement. Look at that Nimbus Cloak. Very nice. And then here Altic is walking up for no reason. But at the same time his wave is in horrible position, because the last time we saw Immortals in the bot lane was in fact when they based, right? They based, and then the C9's bot lane pushed in, the wave bounced, and then C9 based at this very similar time as Xayah Rakan, and then they could freeze the wave, and during this time Rakan was ganking mid. So Xayah Rakan was already, like Xayah was burning CS there in that position. Okay, let's see how this goes. Well, the gang is here, so as is dead. Standard swap timer. I think a lot of top laners get based by this one. Forcing an all-in when your bottom is worse. This is your nightmare as a top laner, when your bottom is worse and they trade complete topside for the Herald. It's very hard to punch through the last... does Nimbus Cloak work on Zoe W? I think it does. But I'm not completely certain. I'm not certain. So Blabber waiting for Rift before there is some platings done already. Attack speed from W. Yeah, it's better for Blabber to just W himself, because it decreases the cooldown of his W instead of Wing a teammate. Yeah, kENCH is pretty farmed here. Aika is going for another all-in. In a lot of Orianna matchups, you don't get to hit a lot of QWs. So when you actually do, you are for harass if you want to win the matchup. But of course it gives you less pressure, but it's only in a case where you don't play with your jungler a lot. So if you play Orianna a lot and you are never getting any help from jungle, using R to trade heavily is good. So yeah, set tempo is really off. Like, set is on the wrong side of the map. I think C9 completely... What the hell was this, Herald? Set is burning CS on top side. Set was walking into top after respawning. Rift Herald was already dead, so I'm not too sure about what the idea here was. You can see C9, they don't care. They're 2v3ing here and they're making sure they get the gold, even though now changes to Rift Herald makes sure that always Lee Sin get. Blabber didn't Herald there, should he have? I think he was waiting. He was waiting to get the 2 final platings, because the Rift Herald does true damage. So just because the true damage is much better. He was waiting for the platings to be just 2 last, just to make sure that the 2 final platings were taken. So yeah, Licorice had a CS deficit, but I'm not too sure why Immortals decided to hover 4 people into topside. They couldn't force anything. The full vision was in C9's favor, and Set lost a lot of CS on bot after dying. I think he should have rushed straight into bottom. And now C9, after taking top tower, look at the wave position. This is what's so beautiful. The wave position is wonderful. It's pushing in. Licorice is smiling. The tempo of C9 here is beautiful. And they're on time. They are heavily on time. Xayah Rakan not on time and didn't even push in top wave. And this is how C9 is just creating most of their victories. They're creating most of the victories because their wave manager is better, their idea of what comes next is much better, and they are already in heavy position. So right now Immortals have no chance of contesting this, right? They're trying, which is just a waste of time, right? They are trying, but it's a waste of time. So ideally what they would have done is they should have just committed into pushing top and play for Herald, and I mean for platings, while the enemy pushes bottom, and maybe Set can do some shenanigans to win tempo here. But instead, Immortals are doing this move where they're going to look for cinema. Let's see what's going to happen here. Because here the position is just too bad. Immortals cannot contest. Set is on the wrong side. Immortals are trying to walk up here. Drake is already dead. Niski is having the time of his life. He's sitting on a redemption now. He's just healing. His healing done this game for Niski is very high. And then now, later, now Zaya's realizing to go topside. I don't know what the hell happened to the wave. I made happy Vlad, but now sad Vlad. The wave looked like it was slow pushing into top. And now it's slow pushing into the other side. So I don't know what the fuck is happening up here with the wave. It's sad Vladimir. Sorry guys. Sad Vlad. Because ideally, Vladimir bases and he catches this wave. You see he's recalling right now. He bases, catches this juicy wave, but now I don't know what's happening here. He's sad Vladimir. Is Vladimir bipolar? In this game, maybe he is. Okay. So, should Zaya freeze there? The issue if she freezes is that Senna will take 2 bottom turrets. They are going to be too far ahead on tempo, and the amount of gold that he's going to get is going to be much less than anything else. There we go. Niski just uses redemption. Why not? Aika using ult again. Maybe Xmithie could have flashed here. I think here, definitely, this is the flash. Flash cocoon. Flash cocoon. It's kill. Should I order chicken wings or breasts? Breasts, man. Flash cocoon. It's a good opportunity here, actually. Aika sets up a potential gank here, and this is where Niski could potentially get punished, but Xmithie is sleeping. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, little Xmithie. So this is my little thing that I have. I won it at an arcade in China. This is clown alert. Because this is definitely Flash Cocoon, and look for the kill. So now Zaya is going top, and she's too far behind on tempo. And as you can see, like, Soaz should not be staying under this turret. Oh, never mind. Okay. Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Maybe it's the best chance that Immortals has, man. Nice dodge here from Soaz on the Q. Because there's a lot of damage, like, this is a huge chunk of damage. Very nice W here. Okay, I guess diving is just dangerous, yeah? Okay. I think if Zoe is in position, maybe they can go. Because here Zoe, like, they commit for this dive, but Zoe is caught. She's cut off here. Let's take a look at this. So for me, I looked at this and I thought easy dive. But looking back at it now, Niski is out of position. So Niski is out of position, so it means this is going to be a 4v4 situation. Zaya, we don't know what she's doing with her wave. You said if Zaya freezes top, C9 pushes in bot turrets, but what if IMT just push mid in that case and trade? Well, but then it's just better to push and hit the turret, right? It's just better to push and make the wave crash into the tower. Will you review the Genji versus DRX games? Those games, most of them we just won in early game. Whoever had better lanes won those games. But I'm not going to review them. Sadly not. Maybe tomorrow. Because here you can push and accomplish the same, right? But then of course Vadi may be TPs or something. It's just that these 5 platings here. And sure, you can set up scenario where you 4-1 and you play away from the enemy while C9 plays into bottom side. Because I think trading is the best thing you can hope for in the current game state. Like, trading is probably the best thing you can hope for. Zeken's arm guard is actually a very OP item. So basically, Senna, first 10 minutes, loses 6 stacks. 20 minutes, loses 14 stacks. And then afterwards, it stacks up quite heavily. But it's like 14 stacks on 20 minutes, which is what you lose. The Lozo. Question, is that as OP as just me? I think it's very reliant on having really fantastic ultimates. And if you don't, it's kind of worse. It's very one-dimensional Silas. I think Silas is like AP Aurelia. You know, you need to, like, if you snowball, it looks really absurd. And if you can get like good W value and you can stay alive in a fight and you can do some crazy things, cool. But if you don't have space to play aggro, it really, really falls flat. We saw Silas being very bad. A very good example of Silas being a bad pick is the game between Mad Lions and G2. So if we continue. Xayah, we don't know what she's doing with the wave. Zoe is cut off here, and everybody is showing. So right now, Immortals have 4-man information, and the rotation is very clean here, as Zoe cannot face check. Right? So I think most important thing for C9 is they skip steps and they needed to take control of the river first. Because this gank happened, and ideally you make sure Zoe is out for success here. But Zoe doesn't have space here to play. Immortals went through mid lane and they can rotate into bottom freely. So has played this very, very well. The W gets lined up. He hits a really fat one. Let's see what Hakuo did in this. He gets a decent knockup. Then Elise, look at Elise. Look at Elise. Smithy honestly does nothing here. It's just because after the issue with the dive is the fact that Zoe gets cut off. Here the Licorice will burn TP. Like he has to TP top, the wave is too big. It's like either you freeze or you force Vladimir TP, right? That's Xayah's decision. That's the trade-off here. So here Vladimir still lost many CS to the turret. He lost all of his melees, and then that's it. I think Senna is good. I think Senna's legit, man. The lethality items are really OP, I think. Like this Umbral Glaive is such a cheap item and it's so powerful, I think. He stuns Senna, but she get eaten. Yeah, that's why you, like, he did nothing because, like, sure, he forced Tahm eat, but he needs to aim for Tahm kENCH there. And maybe he can look to one-shot, but the Elise is actually super weak. Like, she doesn't even have jungle item at this point in the game, and I think it's just illegal to pick Elise for Xmithy. The support item is also very strong, that's true. So the siege continued on bottom. Vladimir TP'd top, and Immortals, even though they survived the dive, they are not the ones, they are not recovering anything here. Like ideally here, in this position, what happens is that Orianna goes into bottom, Xayah goes into mid, and then you recover. You recover. But here there's no recovery. Xayah is very late on the rotation, doesn't use the fact that she pushed. She goes to hit the turret, forces Vladimir TP. Vladimir TPs. And then let's see Xayah's reaction here. She bases, and her tempo is very slow. Because I think here, just because Orianna doesn't commit into bottom, like imagine Orianna here commit into bottom, right? She stayed, and then Xayah catches mid, and then Sett can recover, and then Orianna base, and then Orianna goes top to catch, and then Xayah goes into bot, right? But at the same time, Xayah is very weak, so it's completely understandable. Maybe it wouldn't matter, but from a macro point of view, this would be the way to solve it. What I just suggested, right? Xayah uses the push from top to go into mid. Sett has tempo on Vlad because Vlad has to push. Vlad covers mid, Xayah goes into bot, Orianna bases, goes top side. After Orianna pushes top side, goes back into mid lane, right? And then she helps recover bottom, and then of course Xayah bases. But in this case, it's less true because of how ahead C9 is, you know? C9 is so far ahead that probably it wouldn't matter because it would just be Colford, Warhammer, Xayah. But it's just an interesting kind of caveat that you can think about in terms of the rotations, you know? Immortal need bot priority for dragons and rotation, but Elise is a questionable pick. What a better pick? I think Jarvan was the pick here. If I think about Xmithy's champion pool, I think Jarvan would be the way. It's just that C9 had the freest bot lane of their life, and then they made a caps level mistake there, with Xayah dying, and then it's just a disaster. So now C9 got 10 platings already, 2 full turrets, 4,000 gold ahead at 30-minute mark. Tahm, kENCH and Senna are just way too powerful now. And Niski, even though he got ganked a lot, is even. By saying gank, I mean Hako ganked mid. Elise honestly just showed her face on mid lane, and it was very disappointing. We had that one opportunity where Niski should have died, actually. Niski should have died or minimum burnt flash. We have a Stoneblade ready on Vulcan. I like it. Just buy anything with HP, honestly. It's a good item. And the Stoneblade is pretty interesting because you don't necessarily need to auto-attack, right? You can just use the move speed and never auto-attack. That's why it's so cool to use it on champions like a Thresh with Stoneblade. Meaning that you always move around with that move speed, but you don't go for it. So what mid champions can counter tanks? So the way you defeat an Ornn mid lane is basically abusing the fact that he gives away full priority. Think of how people used to defeat Corki in the past. Yeah, sorry, I'm talking about Dead Man's Plate, not Stone Plate. Champions that counter tanks in mid lane right now are the ones that can push and roam. It's too difficult to try to gain value by playing onto the Ornn, because most of the time Ornn is going to be just fine. Even if Ornn is 20-30 CS behind, it doesn't make that much of a difference. You need to use the fact that you give up prio, and you need to look to pressure dive, burn Ornn's TP, and then pressure dive again. The best way to deal with Ornn, I think, is like you just commit, you know. Right now, I think Ornn should be permabanned. Ornn definitely should be permabanned. But if he's open, I think you just commit all the way. You go like Pantheon, Cassiopeia, you push, and you go. Like even OG's pick Rise was not too bad against Ornn. It's just, Ornn is just too OP. That's the problem. And yeah. So we think about this game and the next move for C9. Obviously they want to rotate their Senna and Tahm, kENCH onto the mid lane. They don't want to be the ones playing on side any longer. 4-1 variant here is good because Immortals do in fact have TP advantage. So the best way is that's nice. That's very good. So here Blabber is just playing on the wrong side of the map. So ideally here Blabber waits for his bot lane to show up in the mid wave, and then they contest this mid wave that's coming, and then after taking the prio on this, then they can step into the river and play for Herald. It's just here Blabber is skipping steps. So this is a mistake. Good punish from Immortals to be here and use the one moment they have a tempo advantage. What I was saying about Immortals is that they want to hope to outnumber. Basically, they want to have Orianna not in the bot lane, because Orianna being bot here is really troll. Set wants to base after pushing the previous wave, and then go into bottom side, use the fact he has TP advantage, and then set up a 1-3-1. Right? And then C9 will look to play a 4-1, where they will contest mid prio. We mentioned before that, of course, whoever has mid prio in this game is going to have a much easier time. That still rings true. And with the strength of Senna Tahm right now, and Zoe finishing Ludens before Orianna Ludens, they're going to have mid prio for sure. They're going to hover into Vlad side push. They're going to have prio on 2 waves. And ideally, they set up a situation where Set just gets a TP, they get a fight where they are 4, while maybe Vladimir is catching, because they have a 4-minute window here where Soaz has TP advantage. If they don't use this window for 4 minutes, then this game is going to be completely over, just because of the things that we've mentioned. Good eye here, you know? Immortal stepping into the jungle here is the right decision, because Senna Tahm showed on bottom. If they get a pick here, maybe they can steward the Herald. But just because Oriana's on bottom turret, that's the problem. I don't know if you can see it there because YouTube is covering it, but Oriana's here. Oriana's here. I'm doing arrows. Okay? What's your opinion on teams countering Ornn with Braum? And why do teams not pick mage supports? The thing is, the reason people don't pick mage supports into Braum is because Nautilus Leona win against Braum. They win the matchup against Braum, they have prior against Braum. And in most cases, it is difficult to find something that can face check, that can 3v3 as well as the Nautilus and Leona. But I understand completely where it's coming from to pick ranged champions into Braum. But I think also people are blowing it out of proportion of how bad Braum is into ranged champions, because Braum all-in is very powerful if you know how to use it. We tried playing ranged champions, we tried playing Karma against Mata Braum, and he legit flashed on us level 1 and we died. Like Braum all-in is quite strong, we shouldn't underestimate it. People are going like Glacial Augment, flash level 1 with Braum, and then you play Hex Slash and you can look to force all-ins. And that is how you win those matches with Braum. It isn't as one-sided as people want to make it out to be. A lot of Braum matchups are skill matchups, but it's also important to note that Nautilus Leona do win the matchup against Braum. Who was the support you coached? At the time when we got clapped by Mata? Well, when this thing happened with Braum was when we scrimmed EDG. So this was with Mickey X and also with Jacktroll. I think the situational scaling. Did you even get banned by playing League of Legends? No, I don't know what you mean. Why would I get banned? I was elo boosting when I was like in season 2. I got a slap on the wrist, but nothing else. Okay, so we go back to the game. Immortals punish the fact that Senna and Tahm show on bottom. Blabber makes a mistake. That's just it, you know? Blabber shouldn't be here. We continue. Is Gragas Yasuo viable as a counter to Ornn? Yeah, could be fine, could be fine. Yasuo wall is pretty good against Ornn, but the issue still with Ornn is that just like you would have to play Yasuo in a way where you play for prio and push and look to roam. That's how you beat Ornn. You push and you roam. People were mentioning Galio and Rumble, but these are matchups that Ornn is very happy to play. The better the matchup for Ornn, the better it is. Playing Rumble mid against an Ornn, and if enemy jungle is good, there are many angles you can get ganked as when you're playing Rumble. And then when Ornn reaches Abyssal Mask, the game is really over for Rumble in the mid lane. So I don't think it's necessarily that good. I understand the idea with Predator, but the matchup itself is not that terrible for Ornn. There are matchups that are worse. It's like, for example, Ornn cannot really trade with the Cassiopeia, right? Cannot trade with the Cassio. Hard time trading against the Ryze. What do you think about the Vayne pick into Ornn? The thing is, Ornn gets too much freedom in this matchup. Vayne, sure, when you get items, if you can get trade freely, trade long, then it's fine. But you will not always be able to walk up and trade and walk up to poke. It makes more sense on top side, on top lane, because it's such a long lane and Vayne has a lot of room to chase. But in mid lane, the opportunities are much, much smaller. Malzahar versus Ornn maybe. I think the tricky part about this matchup is that, sure, Malzahar is good against tanks. That's a fine thought. But Malzahar comes online a bit too late. And the thing is that the prio is not as extensive when you're playing Malzahar, because I imagine that Ornn has many ways of killing the Voidlings. When you have a champion against Malzahar that kills the Voidlings, this is something that people don't do too much. When you're playing against Malzahar, you look to kill the Voidlings because those are the ones that kill it. And Ornn Q is going to one-shot those Voidlings. What about a Trundle just to deny Ornn? Well, the thing is, even if even in a case where Ornn has less resistances, it doesn't matter. The champion is still too strong and Trundle doesn't compensate. Even though Trundle is in a good state after the buffs. I think Trundle is completely fine. I think it's more of a jungler though. I think we will see an emergence of Trundle. But the thing is, there is no reason to even discuss what to pick into Ornn. Ornn is just giga broken. That's it. Like some Fakir buffs, he's just OP, honestly. So just we can speculate, talk about, wind walls are good, roaming is good against him, Vayne in top lane is okay. There are champions that do well against him in lane, right? This was never the issue. This was never the issue with Ornn. It's just Ornn is never useless. And his base stats compensate for any weakness that he has. Trundle also gives pillar for Ornn. Okay, so Blabber died, but just because, as we mentioned before, like Orianna was bottom. Like Orianna's bottom, and this is why C9 are free to do whatever they want. And now Orianna's in mid lane, Aika's showing up. Vulcan is Giga Tank, Aika burns ult, doesn't get anything out of it. Here, the tricky part is, Immortals are 4v5 on top side of the map. Zoe is bottom. But C9's bot lane are 2v3ing in the mid lane. They chunked out Xayah, they burn Orianna ult, and they can just do whatever they want. So it's very, very difficult. Very little that Immortals can do. Zoe is on bottom. Xayah's catching, Rift Herald's gone, Burner to take mid tower, Sanded Sov, next Drake is open, C9 in position, Licorice is on time, walks into mid wave. Very, very cohesive gameplay from C9. Did he talk about why Tahm went Doran's Ring instead of Shield? It's very good. Doran's Ring is very good. AP of Tahm kENCH is pretty high. AP scaling. Aka is looking for some cheeky steal. He's used his ultimate so many times already. Oh, I would flash. Nah, I'm kidding. Why do teams insist on playing Elise? I think only Korean teams should be allowed to play Elise. Okay, Niski playing a very dangerous life, misses that Q. C9, I think Vulcan TP here is a bit too much. But I like the move here. It's a good move from Immortals to pressure onto mid. And the question is if C9 were too greedy here with their basing. Because Tahm kENCH and Senna are basing while Drake is being done. And it gives Immortals quite a tempo swing here, because Seth is pushing top during all of this. Licorice is looking to go catch bottom, and Zoe is going to catch top. Tahm kENCH is running into top side, but as you can see here, just because of Tahm Senna, Zyra can't get one wave prio. And in most cases here, this is a position where C9 need to actually give up. They need to, I think maybe if he angles it better here, it could have been dangerous. Imagine you angle your... G2 and Fnatic play a good Elise. I don't think, I'm not that big of a fan of Elise, of Fnatic. G2, sure, G2 are a good Elise. G2 good Elise. Nevertheless, this is a big tempo swing here because of the base, right? The base. As you can see, Zyra can get prio on one wave. They are swinging up into the top side. Tahm is coming, and Zoe is playing a very dangerous game. Because Elise should be here, right? Elise should be here. Elise should be on top of this. The fact that Elise is not here is quite a tragedy. Because here, the wave is crashing right now, and Elise is fapping. Right now, Elise is fapping. Right? So this is the only opportunity Immortals will get. Unless, of course, C9 give them more opportunities. But Senna Tahm went for the base. And usually what you want to do here is, with Senna Tahm, you walk into here. So you threaten with your Tahm kENCH ult and you're in fog. Because you want to make sure Zoe catches top. And then the moment Zoe catches top, you need to look to go. So what should Immortals do to come back? they should look to cut c9 rotations more, because c9 are getting way too many free rotations most of the game. They need to look to play and fog more and use the opportunities that are given to them, right? So this is a great opportunity, but the fact that Elise is not here when the wave crashes is a big problem. This is one wave where YamatoCannon will have prio. But it's also tricky from this position. It's very easy to say when we have full information, but full vision, this is complete darkness, right? So they don't know yet if Senna and Tahm is in base. But I think as Elise, you need to look to be here in case, just in case. So here Blabber is gone, needs to base, standard stuff. Set is here, Elise is walking, Elise is very late. Niski survives. I think maybe the W could be angled better. And then Soaz survives, dodges the Q, and then Vulcan comes in here to do stuff. Sven is left alone because of course Tahm kENCH is on top side, but the mid turret survives, so all is good. So he looks to base. Set bases too because both of them are low HP. Sven walks up like a freaking maniac, doesn't care. Good stuff. We like it, we enjoy it. Next break 4 minutes. This is where Immortals is going to die completely. The window of TP advantage is now gone, completely gone. There is everything relies now on C9's mistake. So ideally what you do with Immortals is, so if we look at the map state, right? We talked about mid prio and pushing. Whichever side that that C9 are going to walk into is that they're going to push mid, and then they're going to step through this aggressive path, right? Aggressive path. Ideally, as Immortals, you look to sit in these bushes, right? You need to look to sit in these bushes and find catches with Orianna ults and Elise cocoons, and you need to stay in fog as much as possible. When you are showing on the waves, so basically C9 will have prio. You have to accept that. C9 will have prio. You catch it with Xayah and then 3-man sit here. 3-man sit here. Look to find that clutch engage where you catch someone. But it's also at the same time very difficult because there's stopwatch on Lee Sin, there's Tahm kENCH eat, so of course it's going to be super hard. But in the idea of being the team that needs to play very defensive and you need to stop the bleeding, you need to predict what C9 wants to do and try to make that as hard as possible. Basically you want to force a mistake. If you don't, if for example C9 pushes in waves and the only thing that Immortals is doing is catching waves, then that's going to be very bad. I see most one-trick Vladimir's rush max CTR with Codex Kindle, surprised Lickers didn't do it. Here he felt that he needed to go Zika's Arm Guard. Because here C9 are taking over, usually you want to have pink here, hide and fog, hide and bush. Sven is taking, they are taking full control. They're sieging. Orianna's trading now, like Orianna's showing, so this is the trade, right? They're trading mid for top tower. The bubble lands. Orianna's pushing. Vladimir is also pushing bottom, so obviously any trade that Immortals is doing like this, where everyone's showing, is just going to be worse. They managed to save the mid tower. Bottom tower and mid tower managed to be saved, but this is like money in the bank, right? Because these are very low HP turrets, so this is going to pay off later. So this is a bit deceptive, right? But it's okay. Interesting maneuver here, Immortals, looking for a gank. Liquor shouldn't be walking up, right? His team is not on the map. His team is not on the map. Licorice has no reason to walk up. It is a very standard procedure here to just give up because the tempo is on the Immortal side. Even most of the time, if a team plays with perfect tempo, you're going to lose your outer turrets because they are always going to take chip damage. It's just natural, a natural part of basing and recovery. Even here with Orianna on bot side and Licorice having flash open, there is a consideration that you can threaten Nash. But of course C9's Nash is very bad. C9's Nash is terrible, honestly. Zoe, Senna, Tahm, Lee Sin. Lee Sin's not that bad for Nash because he barely takes any damage, but you get my point, right? I think the issue here is Immortals are trying to recover by CSing, and I think they just need to hide on bush, they need to contest the space that C9 wants to cover, and now they're giving kind of everything to C9 with this walkover. Because Aika was pushing bottom, that's the problem. Aika's showing on bottom and C9 can just face check. You know, the more often you show your face, like here Oriana and Seth are showing on bottom, right? The more often you show your face, the easier it is for C9 to be like, okay, bro, we can just push, because here Oriana's showing on bot wave. Licorice is hiding in fog. So the difference here is Licorice is hiding in fog, right? And he's pressuring the mid wave. And just because Oriana is showing here, it is the freest face check city here for C9. They can face check, they're running, they're using their spells. Even though they're running into Xmithy and Rakan here, it doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference at all. Because, once again, Oriana is showing on bottom. So they can just face check, face check, face check. It's very cool. C9 always pay attention to the map state. So there's the Oriana, out of position, getting punched. There's a stopwatch, unnecessary I think from Blabber. And then the eat, Haku no W. That's the final Drake. And after that fight, that is tricky. So we were trying to figure out a way where Immortals come back. I have to repeat, the game is in a state where it's practically over, you know? It was really difficult to honestly do anything for them. But here Oriana's showing on bot, and it just means to me that you're not looking for the right opportunities. Can you explain the Senna tactic that C9 uses this game? So basically Senna is just support and kENCH is farming. And just because Senna will get so many more stacks, it gives a lot of free gold value. And Senna support just gets crazy good. In this game, you don't sell Senna support item. You just don't. You don't mind, especially in this composition. C9 most of the time going to be 4-1. So it's just, you know, you set up Zoe to take the CS, and that's all good. Zen will just pick up the souls, and he's happy. It's very nice in the 4-1 when your AD carry doesn't need to farm. kENCH doesn't need to farm either, right? How do you beat it? Relic procs never drop minions. When Relic is like they drop souls, but they have the same percentage chance as if Senna would be last hitting them. So a very low percentage. My point is, someone asked how do you beat Senna Tahm? The thing is, you need to be pressured by the jungler. In this game, C9 were allowed to do whatever they wanted. They could push very freely. Elise was spotted on top side, and then by the time Elise was bottom, Xayah Rakan were just too damaged to do anything. At the same time, Xayah Rakan leashed was also a big problem, which makes Elise 3 minutes very predictable. And C9 just got too big of an advantage. And then they had a 15 CS lead, Caps. Altic died like Caps did, honestly, and that's it, you know? So this is one of the slowest Nashers that we've ever seen. But the Comet from the Fire Dragons definitely helps. But C9 at the same time, they don't take much damage. So even though they've been hitting this, as I've been talking, it doesn't make that much of a difference. Bubble lands, W lands, everyone backs off, and losing the chip away, the damage on Nash really stings. Why has Senna only 49 CS? Because this is a Senna support. This is a Senna support. Senna with support item. Is this Senna build reliant on Tahm though? Like maybe you can play different things. Maybe you can be Sion bot and you CS. Maybe you can be Ornn bot and you CS. So definitely, maybe other champions are viable for it too. There's not a lot of suppers that really love gold though. Like obviously the super matchup matters, but Tahm Senna is probably the best one. So here we go. Immortals actually get an opportunity here to go, but Hako blows his load so fast. Nice cocoon here, but oh, didn't matter. Oh, okay. Jesus, what is happening? Zen does so much damage. Oh my god, man, he has so much crit chance already. Oh my god, how many souls does he have? Holy shit, man. How many souls does Sven have? What the fuck? Had 120 minutes. He has so many souls. Look at the crit, man. Look. He's just critting every auto, man. Look at that. Good eat, good eat. Good hustle here. Look at that, man. Crit city. Okay, didn't crit there. Crit. Monstrous. Tremendous. Very nice. So it's dead. Okay. I hope you guys got some insight here on how to look to play defensive. Because always, you know, if we look at load planner map. Okay. So here. So imagine we are... So what does prior mean, right? If mid pushes, let's say this mid tower is open, this mid tower is open. Mid has prior means that he can take the aggressive path, right? He can take the aggressive path. Basically, having control over river is the aggressive path early, right? Pressuring mid tower is the most difficult tower to take because the long rotation from bot is still a good rotation into mid. So you can see here the rotation that's long is good to go into mid tower. That's why taking mid tower is very difficult, because the rotation from side lanes is very easy, right? This rotation is very easy to make. And in this case, having mid prior means that you have access to this. But when we talk about taking side lane towers, so basically pressuring this turret and pressuring this turret, being in river first gives you the better rotation, right? Being in river first gives you the better rotation. That's the whole idea, right? After this turret breaks, let's say this turret breaks, and you push all the way, you have prior on top side, all of a sudden this opens this rotation, right? This opens up this rotation into the mid tower. Same way, if you break this tower, it opens up this rotation. So whenever you have enough space by breaking the turrets to rotate from an angle where you come from behind, it's how you break the tower, right? So defending mid tower is always the easiest tower to defend because the long rotation, you always have a very, very safe rotation when coming from the side lanes out of turrets. So always the sequencing of objectives, the easiest one to take is always the outer towers and then inner. Outer towers and then inner. The same rule applies, right? Here, the rotation, the aggressive rotation is still much better. But here, the long rotation is still fine. So once again, you aim to take the outer towers first. If you manage for some reason to break the mid tower, then taking outer towers if you have prior all the way here is so easy because you have so much space, right? If you have so much space, all of the space is yours. So taking outer towers becomes very easy if you for some reason take mid tower. That's why always when you break a tower, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you push that wave all the way and then you take over all of that space that is behind the wave. Because when one guy is showing up, let's say enemy top lane is showing here, you have all the space in the world here. And the point that I'm trying to make here in context to the C9 Immortals game is, so C9, they broke mid tower, they broke this tower, they broke this tower. Drake is the objective. Right? Drake is spawning in 3 minutes. C9 have prio mid. They want to take control over this space. This space that I'm showing here. They want to take over this space. You cannot win prio. So best thing you do is Xayah, enemy AD carry, shows here, right? And then you camp on bush here with the rest. You want to camp on bush with the rest here. Because you know that the moment the enemy has pushed mid, they're going to look to either push all the way to this turret, and then they want to make the rotation into this area, right? C9 want to make a rotation into this area. So it's very important that you stay in fog as much as possible. Make this contestation as difficult as possible for your enemy. Cut their rotation. In some cases they will still win. But this will set you up for the best conditions to fight. When you don't have prio in a lane, there's no reason to show more men. Never put more people on a lane than is necessary. It's better to hide in fog. This rule always applies. Same thing here. Let's say later on, C9 want to do Nash, right? They want to control this space. If you manage to stay in this space, you're very happy, right? You're very happy, you have access. C9 will look to push. What C9 will look to do most of the time is they will look to pressure this turret hard enough so all of these guys will have to show. Meaning you pressure this hard enough so Xayah can't take the CS, and then these guys have to show. That's the move, right? But if they for some reason fuck this up, and they don't pressure all the way, and Xayah can clear the wave, then sitting in this space is the best way, right? If enemy phase checks you into here, these are the best conditions you have to fight. So this is all about making it as difficult as possible for your enemy to achieve their goal. This was a big weakness of Vitality. That's why when we were behind, we just couldn't recover because we made it very easy for the enemy to win. So here, most of the time, C9, it's very predictable when they are playing for Drake, when they are playing for next objective, making it as difficult as possible to just, they want to enter here, right? They want to enter here, they want to put vision down. So the more you use fog, the more difficult it is to win. And this is something that Fnatic is just a master of. Fnatic are very good at using this. Okay. Let's see the ending of this game. I hope the little showing here makes sense, because no one writes in the chat. Can you give us some explanation on red and blue side? Wirecast is always mentioning it. That's why, like, my explanation is, that's why I had an issue with, like, if Orianna is showing here and C9 are like this, especially when they have prio. When they have prio, even if 3 people are sitting here, it means that they are face checking in a 4v3, right? And they are fine. But it was even worse, actually. Set was showing like this. It is the difference between first pick or now. Blue or red. Yeah, it's the difference of pick, and It's the difference of first pick, and on red side, first pick after second wave, the ban sequencing. Red side has always bans after the enemy, so you have last ban. On blue side, second wave, you have last ban. So those are the biggest differences. And then in terms of the shape of the map, I think blue side is easier to play bottom because you have tri-bush on your side, and on red side it's easier to play top because you have tri-bush on your side of the map. And then of course there are some specific champions that just have an easier time. For example here, Rek'Sai favorite gank pattern is through here. The tunnel becomes very wide and then it's very easy to gank from behind. Same way through here, right? If Rek'Sai tunnels, this is also a difference in terms of how the map looks like. Dragon on Baron, I think most of the time it is more difficult to do Drake on blue side because there's many entrances. Same way it is more difficult to do on red side Nashor because there's more entrances. I have not done TSM games yet. I plan to stop here. Because it's been like I'm watching Dave Chappelle today. I'm going to Dave Chappelle. I have my tickets. It's really hype. I'm going to see Dave Chappelle. So I just wanted to drop in, do a game, post it on YouTube, and call it a day. But fucking Dave Chappelle. I'm seeing Dave Chappelle, man. That's gonna be fucking insane. Okay, honestly, I felt pretty good about this review. Please give me feedback, guys. I'm gonna post it on YouTube. TSM games are ugly with no objective control. Honestly, they're getting better. And Broken Blade solo killing Kumo is the story of EG's life, I think. I had a lot of fun. Thank you, guys. All the best. Cheers. I'm Rick James, bitch. Yeah. It's good stuff. Nah, I'm gonna get copyright strike.